Hello everyone. I welcome you all to the Creator Tech Connect series. This Creator Tech Connect series is a month-on-month session that we are conducting on the second week of every month. This month we have the topic Art of Deluge and Cloud Functions. So let's get started. So before we get started with the session, all attendees will be on mute at all times. Please ask your questions in the questions tab. Our recordings of the sessions will be sent to all our registrants, and please participate in the polls or any surveys that are conducted after the session as well. The Creator Tech Connect series, which is again a month-on-month series that we are conducting, always caters to the technical part of Creator. We are conducting a 5 session part series, and we have started with the first session, which is collection and conversion functions, which happened last month. This month, today we'll be seeing list variables and its built-in functions like add, size, append, distinct, and also the dynamic pick list as well. In the coming months, you'll be seeing utilities, blueprints in the coming month, and post that you'll be seeing map functions and cloud functions as well. So we have planned a lot of topics in the coming months as well, which are connected to the Deluge and cloud functions. Let us get started with today's session. So the agenda for today's session will be Deluge list variables and its built-in functions. So I'll be talking about what are list data types and what are list variables, and how the built-in functions can be used inside different use cases and application. You'll be using add, append, distinct, size, and I'll also be showing you how you can use the dynamic pick list inside the application as well. Let's see what is a list data type first. A list consists of different elements. Over here, if you see apple, lemon, banana, orange, grape are different elements, right? So let's consider this in a list, and the elements will be denoted by the index values, which starts from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. So the list data type is also called as a index value collection, where it is a collection of index values as well. So the variable is equal to element 1, 2, and so on. Inside the curly braces is the syntax for the list data type, and the variable which has the list is called as the list variable. So in a list, you can have different data types as elements. For example, you can have an element as a string, you can have an element as an integer, you can have an element as a timestamp, or you can have an element in decimal values as well. Everything can be put together in a single list. That is possible. But if there are a lot of use cases where you will be using just one data type or a specific data type, like for example timestamp, you can have the in time and out time of employees alone in a list. So in that case, you can specify the data type, and you can also develop the list from there. So now that we have seen what is a list and a list variable, we'll see what are built-in functions. So these built-in functions are predefined functions that are already existing in Deluge. So we have for each data type a group of built-in functions associated to them. So these built-in functions have specific tasks. So whenever you want to have a specific action, you can use these built-in function. So each function satisfies a specific task. For example, add, you can use to add into a collection. A list of values can be added into a collection, and add all will add all the list, and clear will clear the list fully. Contains will check if there is a value that is there as an element inside the list. Distinct picks out the unique values from the list that you are using. So we have more than 20 plus built-in functions like this just for list alone. So depending upon your business use case, you can use them as well. Pertaining to iterations, we also have list iterations. We have two types of iterations with regards to list. One is for each element, another one is for each index. For each element is nothing but when you want to iterate through each of the element inside a list, you can use for each element. When you use for each element, the Deluge iterates through each and every element in the list. For each index is used when you want to iterate through the index values. You have index value which starts from 0, 1, 2, 3, and so on, right? So with regards to each and every value of the index, you can iterate through them as well by using the for each index syntax or function. So now let us look at a few of the built-in functions for list, and let's start using them in the application as well. First, we have add. Add is used when you want to add something inside a collection, and you have a list variable dot add, and then you have the add element that you want to add inside a list. It can be an existing list. You can add an existing value inside the list as well by using the append built-in function. For distinct, you can pick out the unique values from the list. For example, let's say you have repeated values that are coming out inside the list, and you want to just pick out the distinct elements that are there in the list. For that case, you will be using variable is equal to list variable dot distinct, which will pick out the distinct values and give that as an output. For size, you can use the built-in function size to check how many elements are there in the list. Let's say you have 50, 60 elements in the list, and you want to just check how many, let's say, customers are there in the list. You can use the size built-in function for that, which has the syntax variable is equal to list variable dot size. The last one is the dynamic pick list, where if you want to dynamically pick with the drop down values, you can use the syntax pick list field is to ui dot add and then the value. So we'll be using one by one in different use cases with few applications. Let's get started with the application. The first application that we'd be using is Zilker product inventory application. So in Zilker product inventory app, we have few forms. So I'll just quickly go through the forms. We have the vendor details form, which maintains the details of vendors. We have the unit of measurement form to maintain the unit of measurement throughout. So whenever I want to add a new measurement, I'll be adding the new measurement in unit of measurement. And with regards to product, I have two types of product. One is the product that I am making inside the Zilker company, which is indigenous to Zilker. And I am also getting few products from outside vendors as well. So I am maintaining these two products separately in two different forms, which is called as product inventory form and the vendor products form. And when I want to maintain the stocks of these two products, I am using the stock adjustment form to maintain the stocks of these two different products, wherein one is indigenous to the company, another one is from different vendors outside. And the last form is the request for inventory refill, where whenever the stock is getting over or when it is low, I want to refill the stock, I'll be using the request for inventory refill form to fill up the form and get the products refilled. So this is the application. Let me just go ahead and show the application to you all. Just access the application here. So over here, I have the vendor details form, which takes in all the vendor details like name, email address, and what are the services that they provide. And I have the unit of measurement, which adds different units of measurement over here. If I want to add a unit, I can just add CFT and I can submit it. And I'll have the list of measurements available over here. I can use this list of measurements when I want to enter quantity of stock. So depending upon the items that are listed, I can have different quantities of stock over here, right? And I also have the unit of measurements depending upon the quantity of stock. And this items over here is not populated right now. I'll be explaining to you why is that, and we'll be getting and fetching data from another place. And I have vendor products over here. Vendor products is a form where I'll be maintaining the products of different vendors from outside that I'm getting. And under stock adjustment, I'll be adjusting the stock of both these products over here. And inside the request for inventory refill form, I have the products quantity and the expected date of refill and the supplier name as well. This is a simple application that we'll be using to show the use cases. So let's get on with the first use case. So over here, as I showed you, we have the product inventory form, right? So we did not have any products inside the product inventory form. The reason for that is I am maintaining all the products in Zoho inventory, right? So I want to fetch those products from Zoho inventory so that I can maintain the stocks inside the application as well. So how do you do that? You have to integrate between Zoho inventory and Zoho Creator. We can do that by using the inbuilt integration task that is available for us. We'll also be using in this process add and size built-in function as well. So for us to first start with the integration, we need to go ahead into the microservices and start a connection between creator and inventory. So I have now already connected it through with both the applications. My co-trainers will be sharing you the documents on how to create a connection and how to create a connection between the databases and authorize it as well. So once you authorize it, you'll be able to create a function, get data from Zoho inventory, which is an inventory management application from Zoho. And with that, we'll be able to populate the product inventory drop down over here, right? So let me get into Zoho inventory. So this is the Zoho inventory interface where I have different items being maintained in inventory. I can also maintain the sales for different customers and packages and shipments. And I can also maintain the purchases with vendors expenses as well. So for now, we'll be concentrating only on the items module over here, right? I can give out new items. I can add new item over here, wherein I can give out a name of the item as Mike, right? I'll add it at pieces and I'll give out the selling price as 5,000. I'll give out a cost as 4,000. I'll give out the opening stocks as 100 and I'll give out the opening stock rate per unit as 5,000 as well, right? So now I'll save it. Save it again. I'll close it over here. Now, if you see, I have 6 products over here, right? So I have mic, chalk, paper, shirt, t-shirt, and a tie. So these are the 6 products. What I'll be trying to do is I'll be trying to list all these 6 products over here in the items drop down, right? So let's see how we are able to do that. And before we start with the functions, let me also explain the Zoho inventory integration task. So I was talking to you about the built-in tasks, right? So you can go ahead, type a Zoho inventory integration task in Google and you will get this document. Our co-trainers will be sharing this document as well. We'll be going and fetching data from the inventory, right? So we'll fetch the items from the inventory. So for that, we'll be using the get records over here, which fetches the records. So this is the syntax that we'd be using. Our co-trainers will also be sharing this document as well, which is get records from inventory. Now with all this, let's start and I'll get into the application and let's create a function. Inside workflows, we have functions and I'll create a new function. The reason for creating a function over here is I want to create a list and I'll want to get all the items in the list so that I can populate it by using the workflow, right? So I'll create a function called it as items underscore inventory. I'll use the default and I'll create function. I'll just change this into list because we are creating a list. So now let's start to create a list over here called as L underscore name is equal to, I'll have a list created. So we have a list created called as L underscore name. Now I'll create a map called as response is equal to Zoho dot, right? As soon as I click on dot, it gives me all the options that is available for me to create a built-in task, right? So I have reports, subscriptions, Zoho signs, Zoho inventory, Zoho sheets, and so on. I'll create Zoho inventory. So I'll again get back over here. I had m underscore response is equal to Zoho dot. I'll select inventory over here as the application, and I'll select the action over here as to get records, right? So I need to get records, and we had this get records syntax over here, right? Get records module and the organizational ID. So these two are mandatory. So I'll just fill out the mandatory field, and the first thing I need is the module. So what module do I require? I require the items module, right? So I'll give out the name as items, and I want the organizational ID. So I can get the organizational ID from the top right corner. I have the organizational ID over here. So I'll just copy this. I'll paste it over here. Put a semicolon. Now I'll info m underscore response. I'll save it and I'll execute it. So I'll return the value over here as return list. I'll save it, execute it. So this gives me an output over here, right? So I'll copy this, and the output that we are getting will be in the JSON format, right? So I'll have to copy this output and paste it in the JSON formatter over here, right? I'll paste it in the JSON formatter. I'll process this again, and this gives me an output of all the inventory that is available for me, right? So inside the items, I have a list of products, right? So I have inventory over here. To find what are the products that are available, I can go ahead and I can see the name of the product over here as chalk, mic, paper, shirt, t-shirt, and tie over here. So this is inside a single list. So now that we have the products inside the list, I'll again create another list as items is equal to m underscore response. So I need to get just the items from the output that I've got, right? So I've got a long list of all the values over here. I just want only the items from that. For that, I need to use the function get JSON, because I'll have to get just the JSON values as just the items, and I'll use for each, and I'm going to iterate through these items again. So I'll have for each v underscore name, which is a variable, in is the keyword, and I'll use the l underscore items, which is the list that I've created here, right? So this l underscore item variable will have all the values from the get JSON, which is the value of the items that I've got from here, right? So now I'll open brackets. I'll have l name dot add. So we'll be using the built-in function add over here, and I'll use v underscore name dot get JSON, and I'll have the name over here, close brackets, right? And instead of returning the list here, I'll be using return l name list over here. So I don't want to just return the list. I want to return what list? I want to return the list that I have created over here, which is the l name, right? So now let me save it, execute it. So this gives me an output of chalk, mic, paper, shirt, t-shirt, and tie. So I have 6 products that are available in the items module over here, right? So now that we have created a function with all the list, we need to put this inside the application, right? For that, we'll have to create a workflow, create a new workflow, and I'll select the product inventory as the form that I want to work in. I'll create it as created, and I'll select the load of the form as the trigger for the workflow, and I'll name it as drop down underscore products, and I'll create a workflow here, and I'll click on new action, and I'll put input dot, I have the items, and I'll put is to UI dot add. So I use UI whenever I want to put anything inside the dynamic pick list, which is the drop down. So I have add this app dot. As soon as I click on dot, it gives me the functions that is available for me, right? So I have inventory built-in task is one function, other function is items underscore inventory. So I have created this right now, right? So I'll click on items inventory, and I'll save it. I'll close this over here, click on done, access this application. I'll get into the products inventory, and if I click on this drop down, if you see over here, you have all the 6 products that are available in Zoho inventory under the items module over here, right? So we were able to achieve this by using the built-in function add, as well as built-in function which is UI.add, which is the user interface pick list as well. Now let me get back to the presentation. Let me start with the next use case. So this is the second use case that we'll be seeing in the same application, right? So as I had explained to you earlier, we have the product form and the vendor products form, right? So inside the stock adjustment form, you have only one field which is called as items. So I want to append the products from the product inventory as well as the vendor products inside a single form. For this, we'll be using the add all and append built-in function. Let me get into the application and let me show you what we'll be trying to do first. So over here under stock adjustment, I have items, right? So inside items, I do not have the vendor products and the uh, products which are under the items over here, right? Which is the product inventory. So I want all the 6 products over here and the vendor products listed under the stock adjustment field over here as items, so that it would be easier for me to maintain the stock of both these products inside a single form. Let's edit this application and let me start a new workflow and create new workflow. I'll click on stock adjustments, created or edited. Click on load of the form, and we'll be using append. So I'll just give append underscore task. I'll create a new workflow and click on add new action over here. And let's first start by creating 2 lists. So I'll have vendor, which will have the vendor products, and I'll also have the products which are from inventory. I'll have it as L underscore inventory. So this L over here denotes a list that I am creating. So when I follow small things like this, it would be easier for any developer to understand the code that I'm entering. I'll just have inventory dot list C underscore vendor, which is again a collection where I'm trying to fetch data from the form, where I'll have vendor products is not equal to 0, where id not equal to 0. So what does this do? This gives out all the values of the vendor products inside the C underscore vendor collection variable that I have created. But I don't want all the products, right? I want only the product name. For that, I'll just click on dot and I'll select the product name. So if I just run this through and just info this, what will happen is it will just give me one product name, right? But we have multiple products in the vendor products form, but we'll be getting just one product. That is because when I run through a list, I'll the only value that is the latest value will be given as an output. For that, I'll be using get all. This will get me all the values of the product name from the vendor products form. So I'll again use L underscore vendor, and I'll put all the values inside the collection inside the L underscore vendor list. So dot, I'll be using add all over here, and I'll be using the list C vendor. Okay, I'll put on semicolon, and again, now this time let's fetch values from Zoho, the inventory, product inventory. So I'll just type C underscore inventory. I just missed out a V here, right? Is equal to, I'll have product inventory. This time I'll have again the same ID not equal to 0 dot. Here I just want the values under items, right? So I'll click on items, and then I'll again use the same built-in function get all. And this time we'll put everything inside the L inventory list that I have created, right? So L underscore inventory dot add all, and this time I'll select the C inventory over here. So now we have populated both these lists, right? So we have fetched the values and I have populated both these lists. But I just want one list being created so that I can put that list inside the drop down items in the stock adjustment form, right? So for that, we'll be using again L underscore inventory dot add all, and I'll add the L vendor form, L vendor list over here, right? So now we have just one list with all the values, which is the L inventory over here, right? Now I'll just have to input this inside the uh, drop down, right? For that, I'll just use input dot items is to UI dot, I'll have append, and I'll select the L inventory from here, right? So I'll just have L inventory, right? So first up, we created two lists, then we fetched values, we put the values inside those lists, and I joined the L vendor list inside the L inventory list by using the add all built-in function. And then I'm dropping all the values inside the items drop down in the stock adjustment form, right? So I'll access this application now. I'll get into the stock adjustments form over here, and if I click this items over here, so yeah, let me enter the product value over here as well as sheet, and I'll submit it, and I'll submit some more values as paper. I'll submit it. I'll reload this page again. I'll get into the stock adjustment form now. If you see over here, I have the values from the vendor product list listed over here under the stock adjustments form. Now let's move on to the next application, which is the Zilker order management application. So in the Zilker order management application, we have the orders form. The orders form maintains the orders that are being placed. And then we have the order details where we maintain the order details in the existing subform, and we fetch the order details into the order form as the existing subform. We have the product category where we maintain the category of different products, and we also have the product subcategory where we have the uh, subcategory maintained or connected with the product category, and we also have product details which has the product category and the subcategory defined as well as the product details mentioned. So over here, we'll be using the built-in function to calculate the total number of customers in the order form. So in the order form, there are customers who come repeatedly, place orders, right? So when I want to pick just the unique customers, right, I'll be using the distinct built-in function. With that distinct built-in function, I'll also be using the get all and the size as well. I'll go ahead and go into the application, click on access this application. So this is the Zilker order management application. I have the orders form where I can place the orders, right? I have the order details form, which is the existing subform. I have pulled this order details form inside the order details over here. I have the product category where I list the product categories, and I have the subcategory which has the product categories over here listed, and I also have the product details as well over here, right? So inside the product category, I have different product categories, and inside the product details, I have all the product subcategories and the product subcategories as well listed over here. Now, if you see, I have one product category and I have another product category subcategory listed over here. But when I click on this drop down over here as the product category, I have two product categories, right? And I also have different product subcategories over here as well. So we'll be using something called as dynamic pick list as well in the coming use case. Now let's get into the all orders form over here. In the all orders form, I have the customer name in the right corner, where I have different names of the customers who have placed orders, right? I'll have to pick only the unique orders over here. Sorry, unique customer name over here. Let me edit this application. Click on workflows and let me click on function. Let me start a new function. And let me give out a function name as distinct underscore value. And I'll click on default and I'll click on create function. Here I'll use L underscore rec is equal to, I am fetching values from the order form. So I'll use order form is to ID not equal to 0. And I'm fetching just the values of the customers. So I'll just use customer name dot, I'll get all, and I'll info L underscore rec dot, this time I'll use the distinct dot, I want to also find out what is the size of the customers, right? So how many customers are there who are unique entries inside the order form. For that, I'll be using the built-in function size to check the size of the list that is available. So I'll just click on save. Click on save, execute, and we have the output as 5 over here. So we have 5 distinct customers. Who are they? I can just take this size away. I can save it, execute it. This gives me the output of the 5 customers over here, right? So those 5 customers are the unique customers that I've got. I was able to get that by using the distinct built-in function. So I click on done over here. Let's move on to the next use case. So in the next use case, I have product categories, right? So product categories is a form where I maintain the different product categories that are available, and the subcategory is segregated with regards to the product category as well. And in the product details, I'll have the product category and the product subcategory listed. So we'll be using dynamic pick list over here to dynamically enter values inside the product details form, wherein if I select a category, only the values of that category should be listed underneath in the drop down, right? So let's see how you will be able to do that. We'll be using the built-in functions get all, distinct, and size for this. So I'll access this application and I'll click on the product details. And if I click on the product subcategory, it lists me all the product subcategories over here, right? So now I want to dynamically, when I click on books, I want only the subcategories which are pertaining to books being shown over here in the product subcategory drop down. What this will do is this will enable the user to enter values on their own and dynamically pick values depending upon the product category or subcategory, depending upon the entries made in the different drop downs in the different forms. Now I'll edit this application. We'll create a new workflow for product details created, user input of a field, which is the product category, right? So why am I selecting product category over here? If I enter anything in product category, I want the subcategories to be segregated depending upon the entry that I am making inside the product category. So that is the reason I am selecting the product category over here. I'll just give the name as dynamic pick list. I'll create a new workflow. I'll create new add action. And let's first fetch and sort over here. Let me use product list is equal to, I have product subcategory. I have product category is equal to input dot product category, and I'll sort by the product subcategory. Now that I've got the values, I've sorted the values via the product subcategories, I have it everything inside the collection variable prod list over here, right? So I'll input dot product subcategory is to UI dot add. I'll have the product list dot id dot get all, right? So the semicolon, I'll save it, we'll close it, click on done, access this application. Let me get into the product details. So this time when I select books, I have only fantasy and fiction over here, right? I don't have the values of electronics in the drop down over here. So any value that I'm entering inside the product category, and let me enter a new category. So let me enter furniture, and I'll select the subcategory as chair, submit it. I'll select another subcategory inside furniture as table, I'll submit it. And when I get into the product details over here, when I select furniture, I'll have only the table and chair listed over here. Now this gives the power to the user to enter values in two different drop downs in two different forms, and that can be used inside a third form or as a dynamic pick list, right? So with this, we come to the end of our session. Let's have a small recap before we end the sessions. We have covered the list data type, and the list built-in functions as well. And post that, we took few use cases and covered those built-in functions with workflows, and we've added the dynamic pick list as well. So I thank you all for listening patiently, and let's see what we have planned for the coming months as well. So we have planned a few more topics next month called utilities and blueprints with Deluge tasks. And the coming months we also have map functions and cloud functions as well in the 5-part session that we are conducting. So the upcoming session for learning table series is on uh, trading and distribution. For people who are new, learning table series is also a month-on-month series that we are conducting, where we take in business use cases based on different industries. So we are running 12 months, 12 industries, where each month we take an industry and we share different use case with applications that we develop, and we also show you how we develop the application as well. The coming Tech Connect series will be the third part of the 5-part series that we have planned, where we'll be taking topics on Deluge and cloud functions as well. Our co-trainers will be sharing the links for both these sessions, and our co-trainers will also be sharing the links of the YouTube uh, s- playlist as well for both these sessions, so that you can go ahead and see the sessions which have already been done, so that you can get more knowledge from that. So if you have any questions, you can post it in the questions tab. Our trainers would be answering them shortly. I thank you all for patiently listening and participating in the webinar as well. Thank you.